Alright, what up guys? Today we're going to be working on a 2006 Infiniti M35. We're going to be doing spark plugs, about 150,000 miles, so it's definitely due for some plugs. And we're also going to be doing a crankshaft sensor. It has a check engine light for a P0335, which is going to be a crankshaft position sensor A circuit malfunction. 9 out of 10 times that sensor just went bad, especially with the mileage. They just go bad. It's about time, so we're going to be replacing that sensor. So yeah, let's get going on it. I'll show you guys, walk you through it, what tools you need, and process on getting those plugs off. These are all the tools that I use today, and not all of them are even necessary. Gonna need a screwdriver, a flathead just for a couple of the close clamps and stuff like that. Flashlights if you have bad lighting. If not, don't worry about it. The thread lock for the spark plugs. Another one thing, if you don't want to use it, it's okay. Needle nose pliers for the hose clamps. I have a longer and a shorter 3/8 ratchet. Same thing with a longer and shorter 3/8 extension. A 1/4 inch ratchet with a 1/4 inch 10. That was what I used for the crank sensor. Got a magnet. If you don't have a magnetic 10, I would definitely make sure you have a regular magnet. Some of those 10s are kind of in tight places and can tend to fall. A drill if you have one. If not, don't worry about it. The 5/8 spark plug socket, and then I have the wobble 10. If not, you can always use just a swivel extension or something, and then decide to use a regular 10mm. So yeah guys, not that many tools needed for this, and it really only took me about an hour and a half to do everything, so not too bad. Alright, first thing is going to be to remove all these little plastic covers just so you can work around them. So they just literally, they'll have a couple clips, you just pop them off. Alright, next we'll be taking these covers off. There's 4 10s on here and 2 10s on here. Alright guys, so now you got all the covers off. Next is going to be taking off this air box. So you're going to have a 10 here, 10 here. Take off the mass airflow sensor. Pop this thing off with the actual filter in it. You're going to have a hose right here. Take that clamp off, take the hose off. And then it's going to be an 8 or a Phillips to take off, loosen this clamp and remove it from the throttle body. Alright, so we're going to start off by trying to get this engine harness as loose as possible, get it out of our way. There's a 10 here for that bracket, a 10 here, and there'll be a 10 here, a 10 here, and there'll be one more 10 in the back. So I recommend doing that rather than trying to take these clips off, just because how brittle they are. They seem to break a lot easier, especially with higher mileage vehicles. So just rather take the bracket off to get out of the way and not have to worry about breaking those clips. Alright, there's actually going to be one more 10 that's kind of hard to see. Once you get all these other ones loose, you can kind of see it. Pull this part back right by the oil cap, and there's going to be a 10 right underneath there, so make sure you take that off too, because that releases this bracket. Alright, so after we have all those brackets off and we have this kind of as loose as we can get it, we're going to start taking some of the plugs off. So take all the coil connectors off. There's a connector right here next to the oil dipstick. Take that off. And then when we get to the other side, there's a couple grounds and stuff we got to take off too. So start right here. Alright, so once you kind of start pulling this apart and you get the 3 connectors off for the coils, you're going to have a 10 in between the first and second coil and another one behind the third. To get to that third 10 for the harness, to get it out of the way, you're going to need a 10 with like a wobble. You can use just regular 10 and put a wobble extension on it, or if you have a socket already that swivels, then use that. Alright, let's kind of show you guys a little bit better. Lighting's not too bad. So once you pull all these off, you're going to have a 10 that's going to be right there. And then the other 10 is back here. It's kind of underneath where the throttle body is, directly under it. And then you have a sensor right there, that gray one. You want to unplug that too. Alright, so after you get all this side, clear with all the 10s, get the wire harness, I push it up to get kind of towards over the manifold. You can clearly get to the 3 10s for each coil. So get those 10s off, pull the coil out, and do those 3 plugs. Before I get to those 3 plugs, I'm gonna just see about taking all this side off first to see if we can even get to these, because this is the side that's gonna be kind of tight. So if I can't get to this, then I'm gonna take the manifold off and then we'll do the plugs on the other side as well. So definitely want to take this hose off just for clearance. We already got those 10s, and there's a couple connectors. There's gonna be 1 in the front, and it looks like there's gonna be 1 or 2 in the back. So we'll get those off and see how much clearance we get. Alright guys, I got good news. I'm pretty sure we're gonna be able to get away with this without having to take that intake manifold off, which is gonna save a lot of time, and I mean money. You don't gotta buy the gasket set for it. So there's gonna be the 3 connectors, of course, for the coils. You're gonna have this blue one that's gonna sit right down here. You don't need to, there's a 10 that kind of sits on the side of the valve cover you take off. Then you can unplug it a lot easier once you unbolt it. Move everything up and out of the way rather than pushing it down. Just get to your side. There is a PVC line that goes from right here to the front of the intake manifold off. Sorry. Take those off, and that opens up for that first coil. And really don't have to take anything else off that I thought. You just gotta kind of pull this back to get the 3 coils out. You can see the one right there, the middle one, and the back one is right there. It's gonna be the tightest one, but can definitely get that thing out without having to take this off. Alright, for the spark plugs, it's going to be a 5/8 spark plug socket. I'm using maybe like a 8 or 9 inch extension, and use a better size ratchet, 3/8 ratchet. Do not use any sort of impact, air, drill, anything on this, because I mean I would never recommend it with spark plugs, but especially it being an aluminum head, the last thing you want is to strip out those spark plugs, taking it out. So I just would rather spend a little extra effort, not be so lazy with taking the plugs out, and just do it by hand. So we'll break all these loose. Alright guys, you can see how fouled out that is. There's almost no electrode on the tip of that plug. Actually none of these. Look at that one's even worse. Those back 2 were actually the worst ones, so definitely a good thing to be changing these things out right now. Show you like a new one. So you can see the gap on the new one is almost slim to none compared to the old 3. Much bigger of a gap. I recommend to put some thread lock on there, some medium strength on the plug. You don't have to, like I said, it's just what I recommend. And don't go crazy with it. You just want to put a little bit on. Now just go finger tight until you can't turn it no more, and then you can use your ratchet. So you definitely don't have to use a spark plug socket. It makes your job a lot easier. It's got the rubber grommet inside, so when, especially when installing them, you can put it in, and it snaps in. It's not going to just fall out when you tip this thing over, so it's easier to control it and just make sure you're not dropping it and messing with the gap on the spark plug. So okay, so once you get them finger tight, get them a little snug down with the ratchet. I'm using a little bit smaller of a ratchet than the one I took them off with, just because less leverage and it's less opportunity to strip out that plug. They don't need to be that tight. Once you feel them snug down, maybe just like a quarter turn, and you're good. These don't need to be too tight. So those 3 plugs are in. Put the coils back on, and then we're gonna go do the other side, and we'll wrap it up. Coils don't have to go back in the same cylinder they came out of. I always just easier, but it's not going to affect anything if you get them mixed up or swap them or anything like that. Don't worry about it. Okay, so it's time to start wrapping it up. Just got to put all the 10 millimeters back on, all the brackets, the coils, connect all the sensors back together. Like I said, there should only be 4 sensors on the driver's side you took off, and 3 for the coils, and then there's 1 extra in the front. And then for the left side, connect that PCV hose back together, the 3 connectors for the coils, and then the 1 extra one. And other than that, it's time to just wrap this thing back up. So, finished with the spark plugs. That's all done and wrapped up. So now we're going to do the crank sensor. Put the carb on jack stands or on a ramp, whatever you prefer. You're going to take the splash shield off underneath. It's going to be like 4 or 5 10s. Take that off, and then the sensor fits in the bell housing, almost right where the rear main would be, kind of in a way, where the trans meets the engine. 1 connector. It's going to be 1 10 millimeter bolt. And so yeah, let's get that 10 off, and we'll swap off these sensors. So along with the P0335 code for the crank sensor malfunction, it also has a really hard time starting. It's going to sit there and turn and turn and turn and turn and not want to crank over. It's just basically your computer doesn't know where your crank is at the time, so rather than trying to damage your car, your car's going to kind of go into like a fail-safe mode. It will start eventually if you keep trying at it, but yeah, so that's what's going on with this right now. Really hard time starting. You have to crank it over like 5 or 6 times. So we're going to go ahead and change it and see how it starts up. So those are the 10s. That's the shield right here you're going to want to take off, so you're going to have a 10 there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take those off, and then the sensor is going to be right back here about. So we'll take this off and we'll show you. So this car is also leaking some oil, as you can see, and that right there is going to be the crank. Right there. So we're going to take that 10 off, unplug it, and change this thing out, see how it runs. Grab a 1/4 inch 10 to get that bolt off. It's going to be kind of tight, so that's why you want to get a little bit something smaller for some better access. Sorry, the lighting might be kind of hard to get with the camera. Alright, so you're not going to see anything physically wrong with the sensor itself. I mean, if you do, then obviously you know that the sensor's bad, but most of the time it's an internal thing. So this is an old one. This is a new one from Napa. The tab's just a little pinch and pull right in the front for the sensor. Connect it all back together. So let's see how it starts first. Moment of truth. Alright, started right up, guys. Spark plugs, crank sensor, car runs good, starts right up. So I'm going to clear that check engine light, and she'll be good to go. Alright, the UBD2 port on this car is going to be right next to where you pop the hood. So you can see it right there. So plug her in. There's that P0335 code. It's probably set when, especially when we were trying to crank it over all those times. So let's clear it. Alright, so check engine light turned off. No, there's no more DTCs. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope the video helped you out. If you have any other questions or if I missed over anything, make sure you leave a comment. Let me know. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If the video did help you out, please leave a like, comment. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel. We'll have tons more videos coming. It's been a while since I posted, but I'm going to be getting back on that wagon and posting as much videos as possible. So I definitely have some more videos coming soon. Thank you again. Hope you enjoyed.